Cuba may be over 200 miles away from Miami, but its little Havana neighborhood sizzles hot as the noon sun. Hundreds of thousands of Cubans fled their homeland in the decades that followed Castro's communist takeover in 1959. Now it is the best-known neighborhood for free Cubans in the world. Miami's Southwest 8th Street has become Calle Ocho, the lively center of a Latin world filled with cafes and bodegas pumping salsa music into the air, and the occasional rooster call. The hub is the famed Café Versailles, the place for authentic Cuban food and Café Cubano, where locals gab and dine easily with stars, political leaders, and even presidents. Close by is the Cuban Memorial Plaza, commemorating the 68 exiles who died during the failed Bay of Pigs invasion in 1961. On a lighter note, a Walk of Fame commemorates local artists and Latin personalities, including Celia Cruz, Willie Chirino, and Queen of Latin Rhythm, Gloria Estefan. When 6-year-old Cuban refugee Elian Gonzalez was found floating off of the Florida coast in 1999, he lived here with relatives. And when the U.S. government forcibly sent the boy back to Cuba, Little Havana went into an uproar, with many saying it cost Al Gore the 2000 presidential election. One thing is certain, there is no other place like Little Havana, except perhaps Havana itself. I'm Lucy Celia, and this is An American Place on Newsmax TV.
And we are in that American place live this Saturday morning, Little Havana, specifically the Café Versailles, or the Versailles restaurant if you insist. I insist on welcoming you back, and also welcoming back the gentlemen who are here at our breakfast table, if you will. Raul Mas, the longtime political activist here. A familiar face, Governor Mike Huckabee, fresh off the campaign trail with insights and analysis. And we welcome back Rodolfo Milani, proud supporter of Marco Rubio. Rodolfo, it's interesting. Governor Huckabee was just relating his experience here with Cafe Cubano, and it was, I believe, Marco Rubio was with you that day, correct?
He was. He was the one who brought me here. Look, Marco is a remarkable person. He was most significant in helping me to better understand the whole issue of Cuba and why it is a very bad idea to ever acquiesce to the demands of Cuba. I feel like that he was very helpful and instrumental in helping solidify my own view of our relationship with that country, and is why I've been so disgusted with what President Obama has done, basically for perhaps to get some cigars and cheap rum. We're going to look the other way as people are continued held as political prisoners and abused. It's an embarrassing diplomatic snafu on the part of the Obama administration.
Rodolfo Milani, politics, policy, but the personal approach. You know Rubio as a close personal friend. You've got some insights into what makes him tick and what kind of guy he is.
I first met Marco in 1993. He was working as a volunteer on a gubernatorial campaign that I was working on. And I can tell you that from the moment that I met him, he had a spark to him that kind of indicated to me that he was going places. And I've kept up with him ever since. In 1996, he was probably the youngest campaign manager for a presidential campaign at a major county in America. And he did an excellent job with that. He was given a lot of responsibility at the age of 25. He was, when he ran for the West Miami position, I helped him with that as well. And he's just someone who's always thrown himself entirely into what he's doing. So I think he's very, very smart, very quick study. I know people who have gone into the Congress and all of a sudden they have a 75-person staff that prepares the Cliff Notes versions of everything for them. But Marco has never been that way. He's gotten into the weeds. He was very interested in getting all the detail that he could, and becoming an expert himself, not relying on staff. And I think Marco's been very unfairly treated by this immigration, the Gang of Eight bill, because frankly, after 2012, the Republican Party made it a post-mortem on why we had lost the election. And the most glaring thing in front of us, that we had lost 73% of the Latino vote. And I think that he was recruited, in a sense, to be our face, the face of the Republican Party on immigration issues because we felt at the time that that was cutting against us, and so I feel like he was put in a lose-lose situation on that.
Raul Mas, I often talk about what I call the myth of the monolith. The notion that if your last name is Hispanic, you are instantly for open borders and amnesty.
Right.
That's not the case, and certainly we found that in Arizona exit polling for a statewide initiative.
Right.
We found that Hispanic voters actually backed that initiative more than they did George W. Bush
Right.
in 2004. What about the issue of immigration? Was Senator Rubio unfairly cast, or are there variations on this issue that
No, listen,
that he failed to
I tend to agree with Rodolfo. I mean, I think, after the last election, I mean, I remember the days immediately thereafter, that whole conversation about having lost the Latino vote was seen as something that truly hurt the Republican Party. But I also think, JD, that, people like to sort of think that, we all are sort of pro open borders, whatever. That's not the case. I mean, we all understand that any country has to have a control of its borders, okay? There needs to be legal immigration, controlled immigration. And I think, a lot of Latinos here, people in this restaurant that are working here today, they're hardworking individuals, they're honest individuals, they come here because they want to contribute to society. But hey guys, there's a way to do that, the right way to do it and the wrong way to do it. And I think everybody, as an American, if you truly want to be an American, you have to understand that this is a country where the rule of law dictates, above all else.
I think it's very important not to categorize Marco's position as open borders and amnesty. I'm an immigrant. I was born in Argentina. And I've read the words that are inscribed on the Statue of Liberty, and I don't think that's congruent with having a 10-foot wall along our Mexican border. I think that the United States has always welcomed qualified people from other countries and should continue to do so as long as they're willing to assimilate. My position is not open borders. My position is not amnesty for those who certainly not citizenship for those who are here. But I know that no one is going to be deporting 12 million people, and so we have to figure out some way to assimilate the folks that are already here.
Well, let me take that issue and talk to Mike Huckabee about this, because that tends to be the reflexive line. It's being used by John Casey. Nobody's going to deport anybody. Nobody's going to deport millions of people. Dwight Eisenhower, the moderate, modern Republican of the mid-50s, did exactly that with millions of Mexicans who had come to this country illegally. If Donald Trump becomes president, do you think he's going to dodge deportation?
I don't think he's going to round up 12 million people. Frankly, the cost of that would be extraordinary. The logistics of it. I'm not sure that that's the answer to what we've done. And I think we have to recognize we have an illegal immigration problem, not because people were wrong to come here, but because our government made it so difficult to come legally that people in desperation came any way they could get here. Look, I think we need to redefine the whole issue of immigration, not as to how many people are coming. We make it too much about the numbers of how many. How many is irrelevant to me. It's why they're coming. If people want to come here and they want to assimilate, as has been said by Rodolfo, and they want to become Americans and build this country and live their dreams, my goodness, we've got room for folks like that. If they want to come because they hear that they can push 2 and hear the instructions in their language, free health care, free education, keep everything from back home, probably not a good fit.
And of course, when you enforce the law, people obey the law. Living out in Arizona, Sheriff Joe Arpaio, who Mr. Trump mentions at every juncture, when Sheriff Joe started enforcing the law, a number of immigrants from the neighboring state of Sonora in Mexico went back home, to the point where the gobernador of Sonora was complaining. When you enforce the law, people obey the law, and that's really been the tragedy. We haven't been enforcing the law.
Well, Marco has said time and time again that border enforcement is the first priority, and I think he will focus on that if he's elected. And I would like to find out, I would like Donald Trump to release the transcript of the New York Times interview. What did he tell them about immigration, with a wink and a nod?
Well, wink and nod notwithstanding, Thursday night, there was Donald saying, hey, I've taken advantage of HB1 visas. I've employed people who have come here illegally from other countries. But it was interesting. One of the analysts on our program said, well, you know, it's as if Trump is like the modern day computer hacker who law enforcement turns to know how to plug up the holes. It seems he's got an inoculation on this, Mike. We've got about a minute left.
Well, in reality, he does understand the system. As a businessman, he's played it. And I think he's been, frankly, very honest in saying, yeah, you bet I've salted the hands of a lot of politicians, and that's how the game works. I want to change it. I think that gives him greater credibility than if he said, oh, no, I've never done that. He's been very honest and said, you bet I finance them. I think the number one thing that's killing American politics is that money controls the policy rather than policy controlling the future of America. And if there's three magic words, follow the money, and that'll tell you what a politician will do.
One last thing,
Very
Jamie.
quickly,
I think,
yes.
You know,
30 seconds.
When we look at why is Trump so popular, and I think it has to do, 20 years ago, immigration wasn't even an issue in American politics because the American worker had a good job. He was making money. He was progressing. All that's disappeared. And this economic uncertainty that we have nowadays is exactly what's driving Trump and what is our hope as Republicans.
And speaking of disappearing, that is what we are going to have to do in just a matter of seconds. Our thanks to Raul Mas and to Rodolfo Milani and, of course, to former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee, who knows his way around a television camera and microphone as he started on a Little League game, I believe, at age 12 in his native, 11 in his native Hope, Arkansas. It is our sincere hope that you continue to watch us on Newsmax TV. Thanks for watching, everybody.